Today Africa Podcast is a podcast series where we interview African entrepreneurs and professionals and share the stories behind their businesses. In each interview, we ask how they got started, how they grew, and how they run their business today. The stories are inspiring and also provide specific advice and insight into starting a business. By sharing these stories, we want to help others get started.
A little bit of background about me. I've been in manufacturing for the past over 1.5 decades, something to that effect. But anyways, being there, I was doing operations and I was in the trenches of things, where you watch people, where you manage operators that do the bottling and filling of beverages. So I've worked for companies such as Coca-Cola, PepsiCo, Heineken beverages, and so forth. And through my work there, it's where my passion for Nubian Smarts actually started. I am a mother of 3 little babies, the youngest being 7 months old. And I love this. And I really am excited about the future of Africa around the young population that we have. I started Nubian Smarts because I saw that companies such as your manufacturing companies or FMCG companies were moving more into automation with high-speed machinery that needed educational requirements, that needed sort of you to have science and mathematics at a minimum at a grade 12 level. So grade 12 is like your pre-college qualification here in South Africa. So before you go into varsity, you need to have grade 12. So at a minimum, you need to have grade 12 with maths and science. And a lot of the operators that were there, the older guys, this is back in 2016, didn't have metric. They didn't have maths and science, even at a level of grade 10. And they then could not apply for the new jobs because they don't have the minimum requirements. And as a company, you can't even send them back to training because their level of maths and science ends at a grade 9 level. So they're at that point and their minds have blocked off around mathematics and science, and they're at a point where they think maths and science doesn't help anybody. It's not for everyone. It's too hard, and so forth. And being a mother, I was like, what if my son, who was 3 years old then, my firstborn son, what if he gets to grade 10 where he can choose subjects, he decides, I'm not going to do mathematics because it's too hard. And I wanted to give him an opportunity to fall in love with mathematics and science as a side, as an added bonus, fall in love with mathematics and science. So I decided there must be something we can do about it. And I decided, why not me? And I then decided to create the NuMeds Kids app, which is our very first product as Nubian Smarts. So a NuMeds Kids app is an educational mobile game that promotes the understanding of mathematics. It has offline capabilities. It has a progress report that allows us to advise teachers on which areas the learners are struggling with. And from there, Nubian Smarts was born. So we decided to create the game. I got in touch with people that I'd gone to varsity with, that were doing the IT field side of things, and they then assisted me to create the game. And because I wasn't creating a business, I was creating a solution to a problem that I saw. I didn't think of how do you make this into a business? How are you going to charge people? Who's your customer? All those nice fancy things that I wish I'd known then, that I've had to learn the hard way. I decided to create a solution, and creating a solution, being a proactive person, I reached out to the Department of Education. I reached out to our then MEC, which is sort of like your Minister of Education at a provincial level, in the province that I'm in, Gauteng. And he then decided, when I reached out to him, he was very vocal on social media. I reached out to him and I said, I have this brilliant idea. You are introducing tablets into schools. Why don't we have tablets that have games that are created by South Africans that are aligned to our curriculum? I'm thinking of one that does mathematics. And he said, oh, wow, excellent. Please do, go ahead. And once you're done, come back to me. I created the game. And when I was done, he said, no, they don't have budget for anything of the sort. So then I was stuck with a product. I was stuck with a product that I didn't know who I was going to sell it to. All I wanted is kids to be playing with it. And we then went on a drive to get schools to register, which is not the easiest things. Anybody in Edtech will tell you getting into schools is like one of the hardest things ever. Um, pushed on, I kept on trying. And at one point, I was like, no, man, this game is designed for kids as young as 3 years old. Let me prove that 3 year olds can learn mathematics. And I then went on to find pilot schools, which are early childhood centers. So, Nubian Smarts, what we do is we bring STEM education solutions to early childhood centers in underserved communities. We went out there and we piloted the game, and we did a control group. So we had a group of 20 kids in a school. They were using the game on a weekly basis. We'd come with our devices, we'd let them play, we'd tell the teacher who's struggling with what based on the report that we are getting. And the teacher would advise, this is what you need to do, add these counting games, sing these songs, go back and teach them shapes. We'd come in with our own resources, around pictures, around games they can play. And we just went full force on this 20. And then the other 20, we just let them be. We said, continue on as if we're not here. We're not here for them. And at the end of it, the 2 month study, the school was like, whoa. And we said, we are done. These are our results. We're going to do a base study with all the kids. You're going to see the kids that we did with and the kids that you were busy with teaching. And there was a huge difference, an 80% difference between the kids that were doing it with the New Maths Kids app. And the school was like, whoa, that is amazing. Can we continue having you? And I said, oh, somebody needs to pay now. I was doing a pilot study. I was just looking for this so I can send it through to the Department of Education again to say, wait, guys, I know you said you don't have money, but this works. And I'm not talking money. I'm saying give it to the kids. Let the kids play. How I make money out of this, let that be my problem. I'm not going to charge you. Anyway, so that was my idea. The school said, well, if you were looking for payment, just tell us your price. And bring it back and get the other 20 kids back on track, because now it's sort of like there's favoritism. There's kids that know what to do and there's others that don't. And that was our first customer. They've been with us since 2019. To date, we are still part of the school. And from those 20 kids, we've now had impact on over 5,000 learners. So we're very, very proud of the progress we've made. We've doubled down. We've gone straight in to see what are the issues that early childhood centers have and how can we then address it while also providing a market for our product. And we then decided to introduce coding, robotics, cooking, and arts. The cooking is really around how do you teach a 4 year old science other than cooking? For us, it made sense. Cooking teaches you how temperature affects things, it teaches you how to measure recipes, it teaches you how you can change something by adding a different color, how certain movements really form things. So for us, that is science. That is basis of science. And so we decided to add cooking. So we now do workshops where we teach kids cooking, coding, robotics, arts, and the mathematics app is still full force, our number one product that we are selling. And more recently, we started hosting kids STEM festivals. So we were like, okay, it's fine. The 4 to 6 year olds that are in early childhood centers where we go to, they get access to this. But there's another group of kids that are not in the underserved communities, but they're not really in the upper middle class communities where their parents are trying to. I want my child to be able to learn how to do coding. I want my child to know how to do robotics, but at their school, they're not offering it. I don't have the money to take them through to weekly lessons or after school lessons because I don't have the time and I don't have the money. So we host weekend workshops. So we call them STEM Kids Festivals, and we introduce the kids to drones, to flight simulators, to the coding, to the robotics, cooking, dance. It's a whole lot of fun for 5 hours with 4 to 13 year olds, and really making STEM fashionable, for lack of a better word. Yeah. But basically, that's what Nubian Smarts is.
The Nubian app, is it an offline or online game?
Yeah, so it's an online, it's an Android based game. It's not on the Google Play Store for reasons we found that as we were doing our learning on the go, we found that number one, the parents that pay, they are very highly unbanked. So what happens in South Africa is everybody has a bank account. Most of the people have a bank account. But how they use their bank account is when you get paid, you take out all your money from the bank because you don't trust the bank to keep your money safe. So you take out all your money and you put it safe in your house. So they deal mainly with cash transactions. So when the school charges as part of their school fees, they would say, we've also got this, it's an extra 50 rands that the parent has to pay. The parent is more than happy to do that. If you put it on the App Store and you say, pay on the App Store, the parents are like, no, I'm not going to put my banking details online. They're going to steal my money. It's a scam. What happens if they withdraw all my money? So I was like, I'm not in the business of teaching parents to trust the internet. So we decided to take it out. It wasn't yielding any results. So the schools that subscribe to our platform, they get a link where they can be able to download the game. And those that don't have devices, they lease devices from us and we charge them extra for that. And those that don't have money for device, well, they have money, but they don't want to keep devices on site because of crime. I work in townships and rural areas because of crime. They don't want to keep devices on the site. They then pay us an extra fee for us to have somebody go into the school with the devices on a weekly basis.
So let's talk about the funding. So how did you raise the capital you used in building this Nubian arts, Nubian Smarts?
All I can say is, can anyone who watches this not do anything that I did? Like, how I approach this is a lesson for everybody. Do not do what I did. So I had an idea. I thought the idea would work. I firstly, as the Mbogoto that I am, superwoman, I went through tutorials to learn how to code, and I learned, and I thought I did a very good job, and I coded my first application. Nothing worked. Zero of the things that I did worked. It wasn't doing. I don't even know. To this day, I don't even know where I went left. And then I was like, okay. Then I started sourcing other people to help me, and they gave me prices because they are a business, anyways. And then the prices they gave me, and then I decided, okay, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take my 401k, my pension provident fund from my company. I would resign and I would do this because I was confident this is gonna work. I was confident this is gonna solve so many problems, so many challenges that we have in South Africa. And if I have to not work for 3 months while building this, it's perfectly fine. So I resigned from work. I took my monies. I paid the guy. He built the game. Everything was fine. The game was working. I went back to the Department of Education. They said no. At that point, I was then going back to work anyways. I found another job, so I was working again. It wasn't an issue. I wasn't looking for money. Um, and then it became bootstrapping for a very long time. Number one, I couldn't figure out who was the market. So when you attend things like Google Developers Launchpad and you go through YouTube tutorials, you'll find that people will say, for apps, what you need to do is you need ad monetization. You make money through ads. But my game was an offline game. So it meant that once you've downloaded it, you can switch off your data connection, the child plays. Once you are done, I advise parents and teachers to connect to some sort of network connection, whether it's a Wi-Fi when you go to the mall or at work, so that we can be able to pick up the cookies and that forms our progress report. So it means that in essence, in this game, there's probably I only need you to be connected to the internet for 5 minutes. So when do ads come into effect? So the clever people I was asking for money could see that this doesn't make sense. How are you going to make money out of ads? Secondly, download numbers in Africa, because we are so, it's not a huge population in a city. So Joburg is about what, 4 million people? How many of those can I actually get through a billboard? And I was saying, we're gonna do billboard ads, because I was doing this through learning on the go. So I wasn't getting anybody funding it, but it was a passion of mine, and I really did believe that it would work. Up until 2019, when we did the pilot, we didn't have a paying customer. Nobody was touching us with anything. We'd go through pitches and we'd get through, and nobody was, investors would be like, nah, this won't work. No. Aren't you thinking of maybe do for the other grades? I'm like, I'm going to do for other grades when I've already spent half my money spending on creating this one. This one is what I have. And then we went through, and then 2019 I did that, and then I then applied for SAP Social Innovation, and I had a paying customer. And now I could finally prove that there is somebody who is willing to pay for this. And now then officially it becomes a business. Before then it was just like, people were like, don't you think you should register as an NPO? Like become a non-profit organization, an NGO, apply for corporates to fund you. And I'm like, no, I believe people will pay. If you make them, they will pay. Yeah, and 2019 was the first time we got funding externally. SAP Social Innovation gave us 200,000 rands, which is probably about 12,000 US dollars. And then we were able to, it was supposed to really launch us and expand us. And 2019, we went through the whole drive of getting, we went from having one center at the beginning of the year that really started off as a pilot to, by the end of the year, we were at 40 centers around our area. We were doing extremely well, beyond what I could have ever imagined. And COVID happened. Schools closed. My business died. Schools closing. And so I was then in step one, but I had funding. So at least I'm at step zero, but I have funding. So then I decided, there was a couple of things we didn't like with the game. Number one, the first version of the game, only on one device, you could only register 6 different profiles, which meant that if we were to grow, and as we were growing, we needed more and more devices. So it became a very resource intensive thing. So I then was like, 2020, no, maybe we should change that. We should allow anybody can log in and log off. So even if it means that at a point you need to be connected to log in and log off, but different users can use on one device. So then we are able to go into a school and say, even with 20 devices, we can service 40, 60 different kids, just as long as we space the time accordingly. And that became that. But unfortunately, early childhood centers struggled the most once lockdowns were done. So in South Africa, we went on lockdown at the end of March, and officially ECD centers really did open around September. When they did open, parents had lost jobs, so they were at home, and early childhood education wasn't a priority for a lot of people. So now, if I don't have a job and I'm sitting at home, what's the point of sending my 3-year-old to school? It's not necessary. You only need to send them at when they're one. So they struggled, so which meant we struggled. So we spent 2020, 2021 really going back to the drawing board and trying to help the schools that we were in to get back to learners. They were cutting prices, cutting extra projects. It was a mess. 2020, 2021 was a mess. 2022 started stabilizing, and we started doing a thing, and we started introducing new things as well, so that we can not only be for the underserved community, but also really look at the community that is sort of forgotten. Because at underserved level, you've got government welfare, the parents are able to get that. You've got your upper middle class, they don't have problems with money, should technically not. And then there's this middle gap. They are working, but they're not making enough in order to have expendable cash. And they're not making too little in order for the government to assist them. So everything is on them. So I was like, how can I assist those people? And we added a bit of more products on the lineup. Um, and 2022 became step zero again. So we started again with one. 2024, 2 years later, we are in 3 countries having impact of our
Wow.
yeah. So it's been a journey. It's been a journey. A lot of bootstrapping. So I did stay in corporate for longer than I anticipated. Unlike most businesses, where as soon as you start making money, you like jump off. I couldn't jump off because as I was growing, um, the resources that we needed became more. But also, I still was in the process of teaching my community, my market, on the importance of STEM education, on the importance of doing it in the first 2,000 days instead of waiting when the child is 16 for you to say you are introducing them to coding and robotics. When I was in school, the first time I saw a computer, I was in grade 10, and all we did on the computer was draw those borders, on Word, where you draw the borders for a CV. Um, so we only did Word, and we only did it probably once every 3 weeks. We'd go into the computer lab. And we were a fortunate school, we had a computer lab. So I didn't want that for a lot of kids. So I just wanted to ensure that they are aware. A lot of our work goes around awareness, making sure schools are aware, communities are aware of why it's important in the first 2,000 days to make sure that your child, as they are learning the most critical things like your brain development is going on, get them excited about coding, get them excited about robotics, get them counting, get them seeing the difference in patterns and shapes and so forth.
After you were rejected by the Department of Education, so what step did you take in launching your business into the market?
Uh, I decided to, after the Department of Education said no. So what the Department of Education did for me was very critical. Okay, so they did say no, they don't have funding. After 9 months of them holding onto my app and busy looking at it, they came back and said, okay, it is aligned to the CAPS curriculum. So I was like, okay, we're on the right step. So if it is aligned to the CAPS curriculum, it's something educational. They can help me with money. So I was going to go straight to the school. So I spent a lot of time marketing and going straight door to door, knocking on schools. I was knocking on schools that are in South Africa. There's different quintile levels of schools, right? Quintile one is your poor school. They don't even have a toilet. They're struggling with toilets. They're struggling with having enough classes. Quintile two, they have a bit of infrastructure. They don't have enough teachers. They don't have textbooks. Quintile three, they have textbooks. They have roof. They might not have enough teachers for every subject, but the parents are paying very little. It's for parents. It's almost a non-fee paying school. So those 3 quintiles, parents really don't pay if you don't have money. Quintile four is your semi-private public school. So the parents pay, but the government also subsidizes a lot of the things. So maybe the government would pay the teachers, but everything else the parents pay for. And then quintile five is straightforward private school. Government is really not involved. They have their own. So I was knocking on quintile four, and I was knocking, and I said they have money, but every time I knock, they say no, we have the product, and I'm like, no, you don't have the product. They're like, no, we have a math-based app, and I said, but then it's not South African based. This one is based on the curriculum, South African curriculum. I know you've got OLX, I know you've got mathematics, but those things they will teach your kids to count in inches. We don't have inches in South Africa. We have centimeters and meters. This plays a role in my child coming back and asking me questions from school. How many inches is this? And I'm like, what? I've never heard that. So it didn't make sense to me. But anyways, so I spent 2 years knocking on schools before I decided to start to go through to the early childhood centers. I never gave up. I knew somebody needed the product, so that kept me going. I kept knocking. I kept knocking everywhere, except the government. When they said no, I said, it's fine. Go your way. I'll find myself. I'll find myself. I'll find my tribe along the way.
Like you said, the people encouraged you. Why not turn it into a non-profit? and they said no. There's someone out there that will be willing to pay for this. So what's your business model and how does your business generate revenue?
So our business model, we are a B2B company. So we sell our products directly through to the schools. We we only engage parents in terms of standing alongside the school, but we don't market directly through to parents for the New Meds Kids app. For the workshops, we do a B2C where we sell directly through to parents. They can purchase tickets and send their kids through to our workshops. Um, the schools that we work with are township-based schools and rural area-based schools. So there's a misconception out there that parents in those communities don't have money. I don't believe it. Reason being, Betway, which is the gambling company, makes the most of their money in townships. So I am convinced there's money there. If Betway sees money, I see money too. So that was me. There's money there. There's money. We just need to direct it, find a way to direct it to good things and ensure the benefits. And all parents, regardless of whether they're poor or rich, we all want the best for our kids. We That is the foundation of being a parent. Once you give birth to that person, all you want to protect them, you want to give them the best, and the best according to what you can provide. But you want to give the best. And I wasn't gonna sit there and think that people want to be given things. This model for NPOs is kind of hard to sustain if you are going to do long-term work in one community. Because if my funders say now their interest is in developing KwaZulu-Natal, for example, and my product, I want to give it to Gauteng, it means I need to change and I'll give it to KwaZulu-Natal. Because my funders, that is where their lack of, I'm trying to find the word. That is where their focus is. Their focus is now on KwaZulu Natal. So if Coca-Cola, for example, is trying to build communities, they will focus on this is what we are doing. If they decide tomorrow they're not in early childhood side of things and they want to focus on high school learners, where does that put my business at that point? So for me, becoming an NPO was really not a way that could be sustainable. I know there's people that have done it very well, and kudos to them. I think it's easier to convince somebody to pay rather than it is to convince somebody to fund you so that you can help somebody else. Having said that, corporates, I am available. If you want me to be your implementation partner for anything, we are a social company. I'm a social entrepreneur. So for me, impact is bigger. I talk impact, I talk less about the revenue that we produce. Because for me, it's around how many lives are you able to change. So for us, we found a way. So the schools pay us on a monthly basis based on the number of learners that got access to our product. So if a school has 20 learners in the month of January and 20 learners got access to our app, so when we say access to our app, we mean that they have login details, they've utilized the app, and we've got a progress report on that particular learner, then the school would then pay us a fee. The fee is dependent on the number of learners the school has. The more learners they have, the cheaper it is to have our product. So it becomes a bulk deal. If you have less learners, then it becomes a bit more expensive. But even then, it's still pretty much affordable in that I charge under $4 per learner per month at our highest level. So if a school has like less than 20 kids, we are charging them $4 per learner per month. If next month the school has 19 learners, we'll only charge on the 19 learners. But we do sign a contract that is for the entire year. So if a school joins us, they join us for a period of 12 months. That allows me to plan better. So I don't do a 1 month. You can't 1 month and then you're in and out. You have to stay for the full 12 months. If the next day you decide, no, you don't want to, that's perfectly fine as well. But so far, touch wood, nobody has decided they don't want to leave. The only times that we had people leave was because of COVID, but that was understandable. I think everybody went through a hard time with COVID. So the schools pay us that. Then the workshops, which we host on our own, we charge at 500 rands. So that is at about $40 per learner for the full 5 hour experience where they get access to drones, they get access to flight simulators, the dance, the work, the cooking, the coding, the robotics, everything in one 5 hour event. And those ones we host in different venues across the country. So we sort of like we are like Benna Boy. We host concerts. That's what we do. We host concerts, but they're film festivals. Yeah. We go through different areas. Uh, and that's how we do that. And that one is we market directly through to parents. The workshops, the schools that subscribe to our platform also get access to the workshops, but they get like a smaller version of that. Every quarter will come through, and we will then introduce those learners through to the coding because they've signed on with us for 12 months. So we can easily provide that service through to them and ensure that their kids also are not being left behind as we prepare for the future of work. Yeah, so basically, straightforward. Schools charge the cost to the parents. How they escalate it through their fundraising, not my business. But the schools do that. And then for us, if we have free weekends, we then host our own workshops in different areas across the country.
Since you launched, what strategies have worked in attracting and retaining your customers?
Okay, for the workshops, straightforward. We use social media marketing. We do a lot of
Okay.
Facebook ads. We go crazy. Hence, I charge so much because we go crazy on the Facebook marketing and Instagram marketing, and we just we go full force. For the schools, what has worked is we've got referral incentives for the schools. So if you, as a school owner, get another school owner to join us, you get a discount. Um, a percentage discount for your school. And then also word of mouth has worked extremely well. Main reason is ECD center owners have WhatsApp group committees that they are in, which is really like a blessing. And they all want to show off what they have. I have this in our school. We are teaching our kids through tablets. Yes, our kids don't just learn through papers, they don't write, they use tablets to learn how to mathematics and how to write and all those things. So we use a lot of that through their word of mouth. It has been once we get into a community, we become part of the community. The brand ambassadors. So the brand ambassadors are in an instance whereby a school doesn't have access to devices, and I said that we send somebody over there. They are usually people from those communities that we serve. So when we come into a new community, what we will do is we will find one center, find one brand ambassador. The brand ambassador's job is to find more centers. So they will go out as sales agents and really sell us to different centers. They get paid according to how many centers they are servicing. So for them, it's also important to get as many centers as part of that. But the other thing is it allows the language barrier. In South Africa alone, there's 12 official languages. I only know 4. So it means that a lot of the places that we are in, I can't even speak to the students in their language. So brand ambassadors really fill that role. So the brand ambassadors go into the school. Once we've found one school that has signed on to our project and they said, okay, we want you for 12 months, we then host an activation at that center and we invite other centers from around the community. We do a lot of cold calling, a lot of calling. Emails don't work with our market. Half the center owners are women that used to work. They used to be teachers. Now they've retired and they're sitting at home. They're like, what can I do? I still love working with kids. So they open a center and they ask the parents around the area to bring their kids. And then it starts becoming a circle. And then they're like, okay, what else do I need? So they are on a journey of learning. So we invite all those people. We do a lot of cold calling and we invite them through to that activation. Once they are at the activation, we then sell ourselves. But while we are doing that, we have the kids from that center experiencing all our different products. So you see, but you also hear. You see what your kids could be able to get, and you also hear from us, and you meet us, and you sort of feel like we are part of you, or not just strangers coming to serve. In Africa, what I've noticed with the three countries that I'm in, I mean, Lesotho, Swaziland, and South Africa, is that community is a big thing. We trust something because someone said they trusted.
How is your business doing today, and what does the future look like?
2025 is very bright. 2025, we are launching in Canada. Uh, I was fortunate enough to go to Canada for a 3 month entrepreneur in residence program through the University of Toronto and the Africa Impact Initiative. Uh, and when I was there, as a business person, I always see opportunities. And I really did realize that the immigrant community that side has a yearning for learning things um, through the African way. And Nubian Smarts, we've really planted ourselves. That is our passion. It's our passion to raise the next army of African problem solvers in a way that is authentically African, in a way that celebrates the fact that we had the civilization, we had the scientists, we've got all this brain knowledge, brain capacity that is within the continent. And I really want to ensure that children from that side are able to experience that. So we are launching in Canada next year during Africa Week. We'll be launching in Toronto. Um, we've also are working on addressing the 13 to 18-year-olds gap. So we are involved with the AI in teens. We'll be hosting a couple of techathons through them for the communities that we are already in. We want to go into Kenya, Ghana, and that is where we want to be. Right now, we want to move south, north, southeast, and West Africa. We want to find ourselves with a footprint that side. If you're in Edtech in any of those countries dealing with STEM education, let's connect, let's collaborate, let's partner. I don't do things alone. I believe in let's walk the journey together, and let's make sure that our people get the best of everything. I don't want to do it alone. I don't think it's necessary. I think Africa has enough opportunities for everybody to get a piece of the slide. And what I bring and what you bring is different. So let's collaborate, let's partner, and make sure that we reach different communities.
What key lesson have you learned in your journey as an entrepreneur?
When you're starting a business, find a market first. Number one. Number one. Finding problems is very easy. It's very easy to find problems. Problems are always all over, all around us. Whether you have money or you don't have money, problems are always there. Find somebody else who has the same problem and is willing to pay for it. If you do that, you will avoid the years I spent trying to figure out who is my market and wasted resources. It's hard running a business. It's even harder when you don't know who you are selling your business to. So, my first key lesson: find the market, please. Find the market, and not a theoretical market like you saw on YouTube when people say, "I have 1 million downloads in America." How many people are in America, and where are they? Where is that person? Think of those things. That's a theoretical market. Find a market for your product. And 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 the other thing is find your tribe. Find people who are gonna support you. You don't have to do this journey alone. I am a solo founder. When I started, I was alone. I was founding the company on my own. As time went on, I've gotten others and I've convinced them to become co-founders. Find your tribe. Find other people to help you. Number one, it helps to have somebody else to bounce the ideas across. But it also helps on the days when you don't feel like it. When you feel like I've had too many rejections, the no's will come. For me, as a social entrepreneur, the no's came because I was asking investors to invest, and they would say, we would invest if you were selling this to a private school like Kuro. And I'm like, wait, Kuro can afford to get the top of the class thing. I want the school in my community, the school that doesn't have access to things, the school that is got a parents that lives at 4 in the morning, they go to work, at 7 they come back, they don't have time to help the child with homework. How do we have that school? And the schools in Kuro, the child comes out, they go to a aftercare where they've got a tutor, they've got all those things, they've got Wi-Fi in the house, they've got several devices in the house, they've got access to all those things. What about the school that doesn't have? So a lot of the no's came from that, but it's still a no. It's still saying that you're in the wrong thing, you're doing wrong, you're not doing the right ways. And the other thing is follow your gut. Yes, others' advice is important, but you also know where you want to take this business. You know why you started it. You know who you want to, why you want to do what you want to do. Stay true to yourself. At the end of the day, you only have to answer to yourself. Everybody else will not be there. You only have yourself to answer to.
What advice would you give to other women who are just starting out with their business?
Say being a woman is a superpower. It's not a
Okay.
weakness, it's a superpower. The empathy that you have, the care that you have towards your user, that is a superpower that you can utilize in order to change lives. Yes, you might not be able to, you might not have the skills to talk freely in a room because when you are at a conference, all the men are the ones that are raising their hands up and asking all these deep questions. It's okay. It's okay. You were meant to start the business that you're starting. The world needs that solution. Africa needs that solution. Your family, your community needs that solution. Do not stop. It is not by mistake that you stumbled upon this problem. You did not stumble upon it. It was your purpose from the very beginning. The skills that you don't have, what you don't have, you can always learn. If you're conscious about it, you can learn. You can fake it till you make it. I do pitches. Weirdly enough, I always tell people I'm like one of the shyest people I know. But when I talk about my business, I just light up and I'm like, I don't care. I don't care what you think about me. My business is my business. It's what I've decided to do. So your passion will drive you. What you don't know, you can always learn. And your experiences and your background are exactly what your business needs. That you bring through, when you bring it through and you put it first and foremost in everything that you do, you are going to be able to change lives.
Today Africa Podcast is a podcast series where we interview African entrepreneurs and professionals and share the stories behind their businesses. In each interview, we ask how they got started, how they grew, and how they run their business today. The stories are inspiring and also provide specific advice and insight into starting a business. By sharing these stories, we want to help others get started.